Running a company is no easy feat. It is essential for business leaders to implement a plan of action to accomplish company goals. Welcome to the Forge Ahead podcast, where we will be discussing how business leaders effectively strategize for success. All right, let's talk business.
Hello and welcome to the Forge Ahead podcast, where we will be discussing how business leaders effectively strategize for success. I'm your host, Frank Vitale, President and CEO of Forge. For the first episode of the podcast, I want to introduce myself and my company to you. I'm a resident of West Virginia, and I've lived here for over 25 years, and I have experience in the business and community. My family is from here, and we have 3 kids, my wife and I. Our kids are 11 and 8. Yes, we have 2 kids that are 8. We have twins. We live in the Cheat Lake area of Morgantown, West Virginia, which is home to the West Virginia University Mountaineers, where both my wife and I went to school. So we're huge fans of the university and the supporters of our alumni association here in Morgantown. My family's from here, but I didn't grow up here. I grew up in New Jersey before I went off to the Army. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But we have had a great time in Morgantown, and I've really been privileged to work in both the business environment here as well as the community as a volunteer. So from a business perspective, spent many years in banking and was a part of a very great company, which was a startup here in the Morgantown area, startup bank called Centra Bank. And worked with wonderful people who were not only experts in their field, but they were really great community citizens and cared about their community and did everything that they could to build up the community. So I learned a lot about that, about community and about banking during my time in that area or in that era. And so community leadership has become very, very important to me because I believe that in order to effectively run a business, you have to give back. And you have to be able to take care of your fellow citizens. So I've been fortunate enough to work with the United Way, work with various community groups, Milan Park, which is a recreational facility and wellness campus, as well as serving my alma mater here at West Virginia University. But most of what you sort of will find about my foundation stems from my time in the military. So when I was 17, I enlisted in the United States Army. And that was one of the greatest decisions that I ever made because it really did build a foundation on which I was able to build my life. And started with the Army, went on to earn a college education, which the Army helped me with through the GI Bill. But most importantly, it embedded a sense of confidence in me that allowed me to tackle the academic challenges that would lie ahead. And then I had a career, really a parallel career in the Army through the reserves and the National Guard that was complementary to my business career as well. So after several years of being an enlisted soldier, having enlisted in 1991 at the height of the Desert Storm, I then went on to attend Valley Forge Military College, and then later got a commission as a second lieutenant in the Army. But the Army, for me, again, provided that foundation that was built on character and a commitment to excellence. And so being able to learn that from working shoulder to shoulder with great soldiers and being led by outstanding officers, I was able to sort of have inculcated in me a sense of duty, honor, and courage. And so from there, my military career really grew as I was given access to some of the finest military minds that our country has to offer. And so consequently, I learned from those individuals. And when I became an officer, it really had a huge impact on me and the way that I conducted myself as an officer. In fact, just today, I was able to take place in a change of command ceremony for a battalion and subsequently a company command. And so I still find myself drawing back to my military roots. But a sense of work ethic was also developed in me through the Army, of never quitting, never giving up, always persisting, not holding on to your position, but constantly advancing your position. And that has not only helped me with the military, but it also has helped me in the business world, and that with my family as well. So although I would tell you that my kids sometimes say that I need to tone down the military just a little bit, because it's sort of how I run the house as well. But that's okay. Once it's in your blood, I think it stays in your blood for better, or well, mostly better. But the education that it sort of led me to was to attend Valley Forge Military College just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I had a great experience there. I was able to get knowledge through the college education that the institution provided. But the biggest thing that I got out of my time at Valley Forge was the relationships that I developed with senior leadership. When I first attended the school, the superintendent was a 3-star admiral. He was a distinguished Vice Admiral, Ronald Thunman. And then after Ronald Thunman came Admiral Virgil Hill. Now, Admiral Hill was the former superintendent of the United States Naval Academy before he accepted a position as president of Valley Forge. So he brought all of that experience with him, and I really enjoyed getting to work with him, with his first lady, Mrs. Kim Hill. And I'm blessed to say that all these years later, I've maintained a very positive relationship with both Admiral and Kim Hill. They're wonderful people. But what they did for me was to demonstrate through example their dedication to Valley Forge, to the Corps of Cadets, to our country, and to one another as a family. And so all of those were great examples that I would ultimately work hard to strive and live by. At Valley Forge, I was fortunate enough to very quickly be promoted and then serve as the regimental sergeant major of the Corps. But I also got to serve as president of the student body, president of the class, elected president of the class. And for me, that again gave me an opportunity to serve others, but also it gave me an opportunity to grow. Why? Because I was able to demonstrate and put on example my leadership skills, but also to fail and to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes. And so Valley Forge was formative for me. It helped me to grow. It helped me to develop. It helped me to learn to deal with failure, as well as to learn what it was like to succeed and to develop a sense of confidence in myself, in my management and leadership style. But the biggest thing that I walked away from Valley Forge with was the understanding and really what would become the hallmark, I think, of my leadership style today. And that is that if I were to invest in others with my leadership and to give others a chance to grow and help enable and empower them to grow, that would make the area for which I had responsibility more successful. If others were successful, then I would be successful. And I still try to lead that way today. Certainly, while not perfect, I've made many mistakes, but I've tried to learn from those mistakes, and I've tried to deploy the lessons learned to help others to be more successful. And so from that background, great things have happened. And the last position that I held in the Army as a captain was as the senior officer instructor for the Officer Candidate School for the West Virginia Army National Guard, a position that I enjoyed very much because I enjoyed training and leadership development, but also because, again, I was able to invest my experience and wisdom into others in a way that would help them flourish and grow as junior officers. So again, I draw on that experience and many others today from sort of the battlefield to the boardroom, if you will. Education-wise, again, Valley Forge was great, but it wasn't enough. I had to move on. So I was fortunate because I had family ties to West Virginia, that I had been exposed to West Virginia University here in the hills of Morgantown, West Virginia. And so that was the next step for me. So I attended West Virginia University and got another bachelor's degree from there, and then later went on to get a master's in business administration after going out to work for several years and getting experience. West Virginia University for me is a very near and dear relationship. Not only did my wife and other family members attend West Virginia University, but we have a relationship with our family. We take our kids to WVU football games and basketball games and concerts and ball games, baseball games at the new Mon County Ballpark. And so I wanted to give back to West Virginia University. So over the years, I've served on multiple leadership boards and visiting committees, and currently I serve on the West Virginia University School of Public Health Visiting Committee, and it's an honor to do so. I've had the privilege of being a professor at West Virginia University, an adjunct professor in the College of Business and Economics, as well as the schools of dentistry and medicine. And currently I hold an appointment as an adjunct professor in the School of Medicine, working on the project or practice management side. So again, the Mountaineers are very important to me and my family, and we'll continue to give back as best we can. And I've enjoyed growing at West Virginia University, and I've enjoyed getting to know the leadership of the university. We've had deans come and go, and their families and of different schools and colleges, and I've enjoyed knowing many. We've had several presidents, from Neil Bucklew to David Hardesty to Mike Garrison and Jim Clements and Dr. McGraw. Don't want to forget about him. And now we have the great Dr. Gordon Gee, who's just a joy to know and someone that I admire and respect a great deal. And so he's done wonderful things for our university. And to him, I am thankful for our relationship, but also, again, as in the case of Admiral Hill and so many others, I've been able to see leadership at work as an example before me that I might follow. And I'm very thankful for the mentors that I have and have had over the years. When I think back about my time as a young cadet, as a junior enlisted officer, I really appreciate the leadership that I've been exposed to, and I don't take it for granted. And again, that's why I do try to give back as best I can. When I got settled, I started off in healthcare, worked for a long-term care company, and I learned a lot of lessons right out of the chute, and took those into banking. As I mentioned earlier, part of a startup bank, and I really enjoyed those relationships. But in growing and learning how to grow a business from scratch, there were a lot of long nights, a lot of dinners, a lot of time away from family to meet with clients and to grow the portfolio of the banking business. I was able, though, to be in a really neat position to have what I like to call a seat at the table, where maybe not all of my ideas are taken up, but at least I have a chance to learn from others who are making decisions for a company and be able to interact with those and learn from them. And that's all I ever have asked for, is just a seat at the table. But I learned that. I learned finance, and I learned how to apply that finance in a way that helped clients and helped customers, both in a personal way, but also in a business way. So taking that experience, I then began to, again, as I said earlier, affiliate with West Virginia University as a teacher, because I wanted to take the lessons that I learned and help young students learn to apply real life lessons. So, we learn a lot about theory in school, but experiential learning, which I have to say today is much better than it used to be. Experiential learning is very, very important and an important part of a curriculum at any university. So having been able to go back and give back to my alma mater, I then got involved in education. And so I've taught at a couple of different levels, been involved with K-12 education as well as higher ed. And so I really enjoyed that. And that experience would later come back as a one of the pillars at Forge Business Solutions, which I'll talk about. In all, the common thread of healthcare, banking, and education for me has been through human resources. I learned very early on to manage HR from mentors in healthcare, working with labor unions, working with management. And in each of my occupations subsequently, even today, as a CEO of a small firm, human resources is always important. And I deploy the lessons that I learned over the years and the skill sets, whether it be through the Society for Human Resource Management, through management training and leadership, or through the School of Hard Knocks. I've been able to apply those lessons in managing any company's greatest asset, and that's their human resources. So all of that has allowed me to better serve our clients at Forge. And so that's sort of how Forge got started, is I wanted to be able to take the lessons that I've learned over the years and truly make a difference. But giving back to the community, as I said earlier, was always very important to me. And we continue to do that, now able to do that not only as an individual, but through Forge as well. So again, service is an important part of Forge. We like to give back, and we certainly will continue to do so. That has led me to most recently, a couple of years ago, 2017, Governor Jim Justice was kind enough to appoint me to the State Board of Education. And as I said earlier, education was very important to me. So I enjoyed being able to fill an unexpired term, which has ended. But now I'm able to continue to be engaged with public education by giving back in other ways. So, as we look at our ability to take past experience, parlay that into who we are at Forge, when we hire other people on the team, it's important to me that they at least share a philosophy of giving back, at least share a philosophy of wanting to make a difference in the lives of our clients, a difference in the business of our clients, but also to be part of the fabric of the community, which is very important. And so because of a lot of things, I was inspired, but most importantly, of course, family. I was inspired to start a new business. And that's not something that you can just do on your own. You have to have inspiration, and you have to have an ecosystem that's built around you to be supportive. So in 2017, we started Forge Business Solutions, also known as Forge. And it's been a great run. It's hard to believe that we're in our 4th year now. But the premise on which we started Forge was to help others in a way that they best needed to be helped. Something that became challenging at times in banking because of regulations, especially post 2008 with the Frank Dodd regulations and many others. It sometimes became hard to help clients. Well, at Forge, there is no regulation or barrier that's going to stop us from assisting our clients, except, of course, the law. We don't break the law. But we're able to help them without the onerous rules and regulations of many other industries. So we started, and it was a small team. It was really myself, and then we brought others on slowly. But at the end of the day, the purpose and the mission has stayed constant, and that's to help others in a way that's meaningful to their success. And so we focus on 3 primary areas. We are a strategy company that focuses on healthcare, education, and government services. And I'll talk a little bit about all 3 of those. Healthcare is everything from rehab, fitness, therapies, acute care, hospitals, major health systems, and also long-term care. And so those are our primary focus areas when it comes to healthcare, and we're continuing to grow that space. The education piece is, of course, as I said earlier, near and dear to my heart, but we have been able to develop relationships with clients that are interested in education policy, that are K-12 clients, so we're P-12 clients, so that's our school districts. We've worked heavily on a project here in West Virginia called Career Readiness West Virginia, which partners with 21 of the 55 county school districts in the state to focus on career readiness and workforce development, both of which are extremely important here in the Mountain State. And then higher education. We work with the community and technical colleges, with private 2-year associate degree schools, as well as higher education. Mentioned earlier, West Virginia University being one of those. So that fits our education piece. We love our partners in education, and we'll continue to strive to develop our work in that space as well. And then a recent area of growth for Forge has been in the government services business. Now, many firms directly service the federal government or the state government. That's not our focus. Our focus is to assist those government contractors, especially the small businesses. So we all know about the SBA, or the Small Business Administration. Well, they're very helpful. And we have friends within SBA and particularly the West Virginia SBDC, Small Business Development Center. They do a great job, but they're all staffed, challenged, as well as particularly with the COVID-19 pandemic. They really have a lot on their plate. So that's where Forge comes in. We are nimble. We can quickly maneuver to help our clients to get things done. But we like to say that, we help meet the client where they are. So whatever the client needs, whether it's they want to grow, or they want to develop their staff through training, or they just need a strategy to handle the workflow that they already have, that's where we step in and we support them. We don't write the strategy for them, but we facilitate the development and the growth. We work with them to develop a plan that they can engage their board of directors with if they have one, their clients, their customers, their management team, and their employees. So that's very important to us too. We spend the majority of our focus in the government services area helping our smaller business clients work on proposals, capture, management, as well as helping them with execution to actually introduce them to other clients so that they can diversify their portfolios. Now, why would that be of value? Well, it's particularly of value to small businesses because they don't always have the payroll to go out and hire a capture manager or a proposal writer, but they can count on us to surge in for them when they need our services. And when they don't need our services, then we can back off. So those are the three real pillars of our customer base and areas for strategy development that we focus on anyway. And that, again, is healthcare, education, and government services. So a common question that I get is, what makes Forge unique? Well, obviously, like all firms could say, it's our people. And certainly there's some truth to that. But I think our process really is a major part of who we are. And while the process itself to develop strategy is not unique, there are many books written about it. There are many philosophers have spoken about it. It's very basic here, but we do think what makes it unique is that it's about the client. It's about the customer. The Forge process is very easy. We do a discovery, we do a foundation, and then we build the strategy. So let me talk a little bit about that, but it's not something that really is very complicated. In identifying what the client need is or needs are, it's important that we discover who they are as a company and what their leadership is like and the goals of the leaders of the business, the mission, the purpose of the company. And the better we understand that, the better service that we can give our client. So we spend a good bit of time on the front end understanding who they are, how they got to where they are, and get a better feel for where they want to go in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, we focus on 3 to 5 years because it's my humble opinion that anything more than that is too far out to really predict what the climate or business environment or the market is going to be for that particular company. But if we go less than, let's say, 24 months, then it really doesn't give a business an opportunity to have a plan and actually execute that plan in an effective way, while at the same time, with the understanding that everybody has a day job. Everybody has duties and responsibilities that have to be fulfilled on a day-to-day basis. So I like to see strategic planning conducted between, as I say, really a 3 to 5 year period of time. But certainly there could be some near-term goals accomplished within less time than that. So we meet with the company, we meet with the business leaders, we get a better understanding at a high level what those goals are for the business. We focus on 4 primary areas, and those are people, so employees, leadership, the people surrounding that business. We focus on product or programs or services that business may sell. We focus on finance, not always at a granular level, but really mainly at a high level. What does margin look like? What are the major financial goals of that business from a revenue standpoint for the next few years? And we get a sort of an understanding of that. And then also we look at property or equipment, brick and mortar. What sort of technical infrastructure does that business have? So we focus on those 4 primary areas while developing this relationship and dialogue with our client so that we can understand what their goals are as it relates to those primary areas. Then after we identify those, we take that sort of information and we develop questions and sort of we script out engagement with key stakeholders for that particular client. Now, stakeholders may be employees, very likely. It could be a board of directors. It could be stockholders. It could be the community at large. And then as a team, Forge goes out and we conduct third-party interviews or stakeholder engagement meetings with our clients' key stakeholders. So we may, for a period of time, host employee engagement meetings. And our focus in the employee engagement meetings, and really all of our stakeholder meetings, is not who says what, but actually what gets said. So for example, in the area of healthcare, we may include interviews for referring agents. So for example, if a hospital refers patients to a long-term care facility, we may conduct an interview with that hospital to make sure that the long-term care client is meeting their needs, that they have a positive relationship. And we then collect ideas that the stakeholder might have to improve that relationship, to improve the business flow of that relationship. So once we collect all of the data in the what I call the foundation phase, or I like to call the foundation phase, it's really an inspection of the foundation of the business to make sure that it doesn't have stress fractures, that it can actually handle growth and development. And we also identify through those interviews, what are the ideas for growing that company? Because sometimes management teams can become insular in nature. And while they may have the proverbial open door policy, the reality of it is sometimes ideas only flow one way. And so we want to make sure that we're getting good ideas and consequently buy-in and good feedback from these key stakeholder groups. So once we collect that, we get a real feel for the processes that take place on a day-to-day basis from the stakeholders and folks in the field. We take all of our observations, all of the data that we collect, and we develop the foundation report, and that becomes a key deliverable to our clients. And we give that report, we present it with our findings, and then our next step in the process, or our third step in the process, if you will, is to take all of those ideas, all of the feedback, align them with the key goals that the management team has, and we go into the building phase of our strategic development. Now, once the building phase is done, we capture and memorialize all of those strategies, goals, strategies, activities, who owns those, and when they're going to be done and completed as outlined by the management team. And we deliver our final strategy development report. And I always like to say that if you can't summarize your strategic plan in one page, then it's too long. So we like to develop a strategy charter, which most folks are familiar with, where we outline the key goals and who owns those. So that is our strategic planning process. Again, many other organizations have used a similar process, but I really believe that the secret sauce is in those stakeholder engagement meetings and the way that we facilitate those with empathy, with understanding, but with a deliberate nature to address the key goals that the management team has outlined. We get those ideas back from the stakeholders, and that's where we solidify the investment of the stakeholders' time, but also we earn their buy-in and their interest so that when the plan itself is deployed and sent out to the stakeholders, the strategic plan is something that those strategic or stakeholders have played a role in, and they believe in it. It's their plan. It's not just the management team's plan. It's not just a company president's plan, but it's everybody's plan. And it's everybody's duty and responsibility to support that plan and to make sure that the plan implementation is successful. So that's a little bit about our process. We like to have process in place on all of the things we do. We also do training for our clients. So we have a similar process for that. We all of our training is customized. We don't do anything off the shelf. So we have an intake session with the client to find out what they want trained on. We do try to focus our training on leadership and professional development. We are in the government services side. We are developing capture, pricing, as well as proposal writing training, which is really starting to take off, all within the scope and areas of expertise of Forge team members. In our government services side, we have nearly 100 years of combined experience to be able to support our client in that arena. And similar, but not quite as much experience to offer in the other areas as well. But we have a similar process in that we meet with our clients, we better understand what their needs are, and then we develop a customized solution to meet those needs. And so, our biggest accomplishment, for our company and for our process is the satisfaction of our clients. And when they refer us to others, when they show their appreciation to us with a thank you and more business, then we know that we're on the right track. And so that really, at the end of the day, we don't need more accolades than that. But we have been honored by receiving other work, and we continue to grow. And there's no bigger reward and reinforcement of good things that we're doing at Forge than to continue to grow and be offered an opportunity to partner with the next client. That really is what keeps us moving. We have a team environment at Forge. We put the team with a capital T first. I believe strongly, in the philosophy that, we are stronger together. And if you believe in that, then you believe that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So when we operate as a team, we're definitely formidable. And I think that is the biggest area for us to contribute to another team, is that when our team is in place. And so as new projects come down the line, we're hopeful that we can continue to demonstrate our skill sets, our business acumen, but most importantly, our ability to understand what the client need is and to help them meet that need. I want to be very, very clear about this. The strategic plans that we assist our clients with are unique to each client. They are not Forge's strategic plan. They are our client's strategic plan. They're organic to that business. And by the way, like anything else in life, the strategy that we help develop is fluid. So part of our process is also that we offer to come, after a plan is completed, we offer to come back on a quarterly basis to work with the management team to update the charter as it needs updating, and also to update the plan, because we recognize that once the plan is done, times change, other opportunities come down the pike, and we want to make sure that the plan is flexible enough to adjust those changes. So again, we have a wonderful team here. The podcast itself is, as I'm hoping that it will become a tool in the toolbox of not only our clients, but in the tool for others that they can use. Hopefully there'll be good information that is provided. We plan on continuing these podcasts in the upcoming months. We'll make sure that we post them on our website and our YouTube channel, but they're free, and we would encourage you, to our listening audience, to share our podcast. We will be inviting clients and others on the podcast to share their philosophy, but also to share their strategy techniques. Stick-to-itiveness is one of the most important sort of characteristics that a company can have in being successful, but also and specifically into staying focused on the strategy. You've got to stick to it, and you've got to be willing to change and make adaptations when necessary. And if you can do that, then you'll have that clear roadmap, that clear path forward that you can share with your management team. Because if everyone knows where you're going, then you're going to have a much greater chance in getting there, because everybody will be at least moving in the same direction. And so that's critical. So if you have any questions about what we do, I would encourage you to participate, listen in on our podcast, but also reach out to us. So I just want to say thanks for tuning in to the Forge podcast. Again, I'm your host, Frank Vitale, the president and CEO of Forge. If you're interested in more information about Forge, we invite you to visit our website at forgebz.com. You could subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. But just reach out and contact us. And we also have a newsletter that you can sign up for on our website. And I think that could be a complimentary tool to you as well. And all of this is free. Our greatest gift is knowing that you're listening and that you're finding success. So with that, I'll say be well, and thanks for tuning in to the Forge Ahead podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Forge Ahead podcast. To find more podcast episodes and to learn more about Forge, visit our website at forgebz.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Show us how your company is forging ahead. Tag us on social media or use the hashtag ForgeAheadPodcast.